AD.
Like, are you on the source with the AD? Like, you know what's happening down there. Like,
Maybe a bit,
because if I discussed with you and said, well, Kaisa and where the hell is she?
Thank you.
Where is? Who am I looking for? Kaisa. Kaisa and Zaya. No, Zaya's like a tier below. Have you been playing the new Kaisa build? Have you been playing the Umbral build?
I haven't been playing it, but I've played against it and I've seen it. It's pretty cracked.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, this is kind of the same mechanic that you remember when like AD carry supports were a big thing?
Mm-hmm.
It was like Umbral plus Zombie Ward. Because like
Oh
with
yeah.
Umbral you stack it so quickly and Umbral's so cheap and you just have like insane AD one item spike.
True.
And then obviously with Kaisa, who's such a big fiend for early AD, it's just kind of cracked. Plus, like a lot of people like the Duskblade, man. Like Duskblade is just such a fucking insane item.
Oh yeah.
Like
The untargetable is just nuts.
the thing is that I don't think it's I think the untargetable is good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like that's the easy thing to fixate on, right? Like a lot of people will look at the untargetability and be like, "This is fucking broken," and yeah, sure, it's annoying as fuck. But the Night Stalker shit, your abilities deal 0 to 80% bonus damage against champions based on their missing health,
True.
right? But that doesn't say physical damage, right? So like Kaisa passive. Whenever you proc Kaisa passive, they're gonna be low health, right?
Oh yeah.
By the time you fully stacked it. So like you're proccing the passive and then it's doing like up to 18% extra damage. I think it's at if they're at 30% health, it does 18% extra damage. If it's a tanky target, you're just fucking one shot. That's why like the Duskblade is so insane because it's not specifically physical,
Yeah.
which is why Kaisa can make use of it. And there's a lot of champions who benefit from it who have like a decent amount of magic damage in their kit.
True. Yeah, shit.
Whoa, what are you doing with Ziggs down there?
Hang on. This is not concrete. I'm just throwing them into the mix. I'm throwing them into the mix. All right, simmer down. Samira
Do we put
busted.
Senna in there?
Oh
Do we
yeah.
count Senna fasting?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Because it exists
Maybe
as
like
fasting again, does it? Oh, I mean, it's been fasting for the longest time, but that's what it is
yeah, it's
currently.
pretty good. They changed this thing with her fucking W, I think. That was the thing that really well they changed a couple of things. One, they changed her crit modifier. Because she used to do reduced crit damage, now she doesn't. And obviously Senna ends up getting more crit than any of the AD carry because of her souls,
True.
like by default. And also her W now AoE applies mist. So if you like WQ and you hit like 3 people with both, then you get like triple mist proc, triple souls.
Oh, the fuck.
Kind of cracked.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the AoE because before it was only the target you initially hit with the W.
Yeah, right.
But you can AoE it. It's kind of cracked.
I'm literally just throwing every AD down there. Everyone I can think
some
of.
mages as well, some funky mages.
Yeah,
Stuff like Seraphine.
Karth's still being played down bot.
Yeah, Karthus. Yeah, gets played a bit.
You say Seraphine? I know. Okay, so I've been my pick that I think is going to end up being most banned is Swain. Because
Really?
a lot of pro players are currently playing Swain, and it's good into Kaisa and Ashe, some of the top tier 80 carries. It's good into a lot of decent lane 80 carries as well. I don't know if you've been seeing any Swain like bot in solo queue, but I know in Korean Challenger,
I mean, if I'm
it's
being
getting
honest,
spammed.
I used to play Swain,
Oh,
right?
hell yeah.
Like a lot in the bot. So I like, I think a lot of people know that I play a lot of Ziggs, but I used to just play Mage's bot because I thought they were really fun. The thing with Swain, like, the thing is, there are going to be games where, like, let's say the enemy team has like a composition where you just don't want to be playing AD carry, right? There's a lot of compositions like that. But champions like Renekton, Aurelia, stuff like that, where it's like, oh god, do I really have to play AD carry? Like, I'd say Swain kind of functions in a similar manner to like Xayah, where like he just fucks melee champions.
Yeah.
So like in a meta where like people are playing dive, like I also at level 6, like his 2v2 all in at level 6 is like one of the best in the game. Like honestly, like his ult is so strong.
Yeah.
Like how are you supposed to kill him when he just sits there and he just gives you the suck? I'm not sure I would have thought of it being like super broken, but
Yeah,
like here's my view, okay? Just because we're getting into it, right? I've thought this for a while. So in spring, right? Early spring, we had the marksman support meta, right? 80 carry really was pretty strong then, and like winning bot was super important. You remember we had people like ganking bot at like fucking 3 minutes or whatever,
true. The
you know?
dives at like 5 minutes in the game, yeah.
Yeah. And it was all about get 80 carry ahead. And then they changed it to make it so you could build IE second item.
True.
And suddenly like MSI meta was all about the 80 carries, right? In fact, it became so about the 80 carries that it stopped being about the 80 carries, which sounds stupid, but what I mean is that like it really came down to how well a team could kill the enemy AD carry. It was like basically the whole team was either frontline, support, or kill the enemy AD carry.
Yeah.
And it's basically whoever's AD carry survived. And the thing is, it didn't even matter, right? So like if one AD carry had 3 items and the other one had 2 items, it didn't matter because like the third item was kind of but the second item being IE, it's like if you have a Aphelios with Mythic IE and the enemy AD carry dies, that Aphelios will 1v9 the team fight. That's
Yeah.
how broken AD carry was, right? But then they made it so now no one builds IE, right? Like no one actually builds IE ever.
True.
And
Unless
as a
it's Twitch.
result, we had this period where like some AD carries were strong, but normally it's the ones that don't build like the meta.
Mm-hmm.
Shiv was definitely like a really strong item. But like, like if we look at who's the strongest AD carry right
Thank you.
now, Kaisa, she's been really strong for a while. Both of her builds aren't traditional AD carry builds,
Yeah.
right? Ezreal's been pretty strong recently. Again, not traditional AD carry builds, right? And I think AD carry is weaker than it has been for a long time. Like there are specific AD carries that are strong, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the meta has been so focused on AD carries for ages. I think mages are actually looking pretty strong in general. And
True.
also, like a big thing for mages is that we have a bunch of AD mids who are strong. We have, for some mages like Ziggs, like Lost Chapter being 1100 is correct. Force of Nature no longer being a real item makes such a big difference. Like, think about it, right? Okay, let's say you're against a Fed AD carry and you're a tank. What you build? Like, what are the anti AD carry tank items?
um.
Like
Well.
Randuin's Frozen Heart.
Yeah.
Like, they both reduce damage output.
Yeah.
One of them just reduces crit damage. One of them reduces attack speed. They both have like the extra damage reduction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about for magic resist, right? In terms of like actual, I want to reduce magic damage MR item. What do you see built in terms of MR items and tanks? What do you actually see built like when you watch pro play? What item do you actually see built most of the time?
Well, I'm trying to think. From an AD standpoint or a tank standpoint?
Tank standpoint.
Um. Well, fuck me. It'd be Force of Nature, no? No.
Nope, you don't really see
Gargle.
Force Nature that much.
True.
You see Abyssal Mask
Oh
mostly,
yeah.
right? That one's been super popular. And there's two things with Abyssal Mask, right? One, it doesn't actually have a damage reduction effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got decent stats on it, right? It's very cheap, 60 MR, pretty solid. But the passive doesn't reduce damage. And the thing is, like Force of Nature, if you're into like 4 AP, yes, you'd build Force of Nature, but people aren't really building Force of Nature that much anymore
True.
since it got nerfed. Like the nerf was so insane. This item used to be so cracked. But like think about this, right? If both your tanks are building MR, like on both teams, and they both have Abyssal Mask, that just amps magic damage. Like if the MR amp option is a magic damage amp, then AP champs aren't going to suffer that much.
True.
And I think for that reason, like we're finally seeing like mages look really good in the bot lane.
Yeah. Fuck me. I guess.
I think they've been strong for a while, but I think we're finally seeing them actually be like people are picking up on it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've seen, but like Deft has been spamming Oriana in solo queue.
Oh really?
You know, yeah. And I can't think of a feasible reason. And Deft is already a big Ziggs player, by the way. He doesn't need to practice Ziggs, but like I can't think of a reason why you'd be spamming Oriana going into Worlds unless you're like, we want to learn more Mage's bot because we think Mage's bot are actually good.
Oh shit. Okay.
So that's just my opinion.
Oh, that
You know?
spices up. No, that's good. That's good. There's a fucking train of thought though, like how we got to this point. Um.
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking for a while, and I just think the meta is so different to like MSI.
Yeah.
Um, MSI was just like it was like the most bog standard team fight compositions. It was like okay, tank tops, utility mid laner who's like stuff like Ari, like these roaming active playmakers.
Mm-hmm.
Jungle was the same shit it fucking always is, and then
Mm-hmm.
support was enchanters, and it was like it was a sort of composition you play when your AD carry is a Challenger Smith. You know, when you play like Go for Lols and stuff like that, like
Yep.
those little tournaments, or like Clash, I guess, and you have a Challenger AD carry. That's the sort of composition you play because
Yep.
AD carries are so broken. And now it's like, you see much more carry-oriented mid laners, carry-oriented top laners, I think there's a lot more room for the other roles to breathe.
True. We've got a lot of skirmish heavy gameplay too. And so
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, this is why, like, on top of the list, right? I did Kaisa Ash for what I think strong, but
Okay.
Ash is interesting because I'm not sure into what level we're gonna see her solo queue play rate translated through to competitive play. Because I feel like we have a higher chance of seeing something like Ezreal mixed with the kind of supports we're currently seeing than something like Ash. And my prediction is that we're going to see Swain. Like, as you're talking about, we're seeing the versatility of Mage's bot. And Swain is not only a good option into Kaisa, Ash, like what else is Swain good into? Like fucking Jhin, Caitlyn, Miss
I
Fortune.
mean, to be honest, with Swain, so with Swain, like the two things with Swain are one, the lane matchup isn't that important.
Right.
Okay. Swain kind of just wants to farm the 6 and not get his shit rocked.
Mm-hmm.
But also the champions that specifically gives Swain trouble are the really high DPS ones,
Yeah.
right? Who can like actually shred through him. Because like let's say you're playing, I mean he does also have some trouble with like, these big lane bullies.
Yeah.
But let's say you're playing into a champion that isn't a massive lane bully and you into a champion that doesn't have insane DPS, right? Um, let's say you're playing into hypothetically, I don't know, Samira,
Mm-hmm.
you know? If you get to level 6 against Samira, then what is Samira supposed to do against you, right? She
True.
can't burst you before you get your ult off. She has to get up close to you, so she's not going to outrange you. And she doesn't have insane sustained damage. So, like, how is she actually supposed to cut through you? And if she doesn't kill you, you're just going to heal up. And he's going to keep healing up and be more of a problem, you know?
Mm.
Um, but I think Swain, like generally, it's more about the composition, right? Like if I'm playing Swain into like Nocturne, right?
Yeah.
Swain is so good into Nocturne because it'll literally be a situation where like you know how typically if like you're playing, I don't know, Ashe, Jhin, Caitlyn, and you see a Nocturne, you're like, oh shit,
Yeah. It's
we
it.
all know what's gonna happen.
That's right.
But you play Swain in that, and it's like, what are they supposed to do to Swain?
Yeah. Run
He's
into.
very good anti-dive.
Mm-hmm.
He's phenomenal anti-dive, and like dive supports have been like super big at the moment,
Yeah.
um, and it's been like the general theme of the meta. So I think Swain's good. I don't know if he's S tier. I don't know if he's gonna be that up there,
Mm.
but I could understand. I'd be interested to see more from him. I also think like some of the items he can build are kind of crap.
True.
Rylai's been so cheap. I think was big for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Ziggs is cracked. I think
Do you actually?
that's what I've been thinking. I think Ziggs is insane. I think he's been
Wow.
like here's the thing, right? So I think there's a couple of things. One, I don't think teams do a great job of playing around Ziggs. A lot of people have this mindset where like um you want to put Ziggs bot and wave clear and and then you just free up your support to roam. I think that's the wrong way to play Ziggs. I think Ziggs should be treated like Draven or Kindred. You know how Draven and Kindred both have like mini game passives,
Mm-hmm.
right? That your objective should be to play around them. I think that's how you treat Ziggs. I think first 14 minutes of the game, you should have one goal as a team if you have a Ziggs, and that should be for him to satchel towers.
Yep.
That should be it. You should literally go, okay, how can we allow Ziggs to touch a tower? That should be your goal. It's like when you have Herald, right? When you have Herald, what is your goal when you have Herald? Herald the tower. When you have
True.
Ziggs, your goal for the first 14 minutes should be to satchel towers. And like we've seen teams do this. I'm not saying like no teams do it. A good example was Top Esports had that game this season where Jackie Love got like 15
Oh,
plates,
true. He
and it
destroyed
was just
bot so early, and then wrapped top, and then just did the same thing mid with Herald or something.
exactly. It's something we've seen Hans Sammer do before on
Mm-hmm.
Rogue. Back in the day when he'd literally like TP top just to satchel a tower. And the thing is, right, so here's the thing about plates, okay? So this year they made plates more expensive, but also tankier,
Yeah.
right? So like Ziggs benefited from that because he doesn't care how tanky the
Has a
plates
better
are. He
value.
kills them anyway.
Yeah.
and there's so much gold. And I also people have talked about a lot. You know the Baus video that
Hmm.
he did a while ago where he talked about plate gold. It was like it's broken because it's tax free,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You don't get a bounty for plate gold, and bounties are so strong at the moment. You know, gold bounties, objective bounties, but plates aren't factored into that. So the ideal Ziggs game, in my opinion, is you get bot tower, right? Whether it's by having jungle presence, whether it's by having a winning lane situation, whether it's just by having a good recall timing, you TP at the right time, whatever. You manage to get bot tower. Maybe you cross map and you get top instead. Blah blah blah. And then you free up the Ziggs to go somewhere else. Maybe it's mid, maybe it's top. You get Herald down. You take 2 towers, and then by 14 minutes in the game, you have Mythic, you have second item, and you have Source Shoes at 14 minutes. And the enemy carry will have one item,
Mm.
and that's about it, right? Maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
And at that point of the game, Ziggs is just obnoxious. You can't play against him. You actually can't. He's just does so much fucking damage. And people think, oh well, you can just dodge his bombs. Bro, it's fucking
It's
like
got a 2 second cooldown. You fucking played dodgeball.
it's not even that. It's like, if you play against a Fed Ziggs and you walk through his E, it's brutal. And also, I think that's one thing is that people tend to put so how would you label Ziggs, right? You know how we have different labels for mages.
Hmm.
What I'm just asking to make an example. Like, what would you say Ziggs is, right? If we compare him to different mages, how would you sort of
Oh fuck, that's
think of him,
hard.
right?
Is he control mage? But he's DPS a lot. Well,
See, I think he's got insane DPS, but I think he's a control mage. But I think people have this mistake where they think he's like an artillery mage.
right.
I see people think of him like Xerath and Vel'Koz.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, I don't think he fits that anymore, right? Because I think like if you're against good players, max range Qs aren't going to connect,
True.
unless they're stunned.
But
Like his
you
ult and
control
his Q,
space well. That's the whole thing. It's like you control space well,
yeah,
like Victor
but
does
also
when he's
his
fed.
yeah, like his optimal range is the range at which he can E, he can W, and he can zero bounce Q.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're good on Ziggs, it doesn't matter. Like you will hit your zero bounce Qs like
True.
consistently, and they do so much fucking damage, and there's such a short cooldown. And if you look at think about Cinder, right? You probably think Cinder Q does a fair bit of damage, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna tell you the numbers on Cinder Q versus Ziggs Q,
Okay.
right? So Cinder Q at rank 5 does 215 damage, right?
Right.
Plus
215.
70% AP ratio.
Okay.
Yeah. And you may think, well, Cinder Q is a really short cooldown. I mean, so is Ziggs Q,
Yep.
right? Here's the thing. Ziggs Q does 295 damage. That's 80 more.
Holy fuck.
And then it has a 5% lower AP ratio. You
Oh, what
know?
the fuck? Okay.
His base damages are so insane. His E melts everyone. It just does so much fucking damage.
Yeah.
Like it's honestly just insane. And yeah, I mean Syndra Q, like
The
she does get like
splinters.
really high AP later,
Yep.
but she gets like 2 charges of Q. But even with 2 charges, like she's throwing it like as much as like a Ziggs will be. Like Ziggs spams it.
Yeah.
And legit, like Fed Ziggs is just insane. I honestly think like this champ. And the thing is, I think you have 80 mids, right? You have like imagine a composition has like Tristana mid and Ziggs bot lane. You know,
True.
like think how much damage that would do. And the thing is as well, like people also have this misconception, like oh we needed an AD carry, we need like DPS, and I mean your point before was so right. Like Ziggs does so much DPS.
Yep.
Like if you're playing a tank and you try and walk through his minefield, you just get nuked. Oh, and the final thing. So again, I talked about how I don't think he's artillery mage.
Yeah.
I think his W and his E is like the most insane self peel, and I think it's a good Ziggs. There's so many champions where it's just impossible to reach him.
Yep.
Like you just if you've seen like if a melee champion gets on top of him and he can W between them, which he should be able to, you end up like 1K distance apart.
True.
It's just Jova. So I think Ziggs is cracked.
So
I'm big.
is this a sentiment that's being shared? Like, because I mean, the only thing I haven't seen, we're talking, um, we're only talking like based on what tracking the pros and pro builds and all that kind of shit. Are people actually playing it? Are people picking him up, or is it just something you have as a thought, like as to why Ziggs could be
I mean,
played?
I think Ziggs has been cracked for a while.
Mm.
So I'm quite heavy in the Ziggs believer.
Mhm.
I know people have put out some tier lists. Like I think Perks did one,
Oh yeah.
Reptile did one, and they both put Ziggs pretty high.
Oh shit.
But I think part of it is like teams aren't utilizing well. I also think the building kind of crap. Like people keep building tier on Ziggs, man. It's just it's so unnecessary. It just stalls your spike out, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to just be doing the max bomber damage. That's the plan.
Sure.
The thing is, like, AD carries are generally pretty averse to playing mages, if I'm being real. But we've seen like the Eastern AD carries have been practicing mages, so maybe, maybe that's
Well,
something.
I mean, that's where I get my Swain opinion from, because I know there's a couple of it's not just Wonder who's been playing it bot for some reason, but there's a few 80 carriers who've been picking it up and saying it's good as an
I also
option.
think like Zaya's. A lot of people think Zaya's quite good now. I think Zaya's unplayable into Ziggs. I actually think that matchup's
Yeah.
so bad for Zaya. I was surprised when Zaya was so strong in summer we didn't see Ziggs because like the whole thing with Zaya is that you want people to run into you, but Ziggs will never run into you. Ziggs
Mm.
will just keep you at max distance and just bomber you. So
Yeah. Yeah. Shit. So, what would you? I've created a new tier for you, by the way, based on that conversation.
oh, the Orcs tier,
The Orcs
just Ziggs,
tier. It's
just Ziggs,
just Ziggs for
Ziggs
now.
all the way.
Um,
Yeah.
is there anyone else who you think's like hidden OP? Because I like leaving the pocket picks. Like, if you're telling me Death's playing Oriana, that's enough for me to put it into pocket picks. Especially when, as you said, if you're spamming that leading up to Worlds, that's, I mean, that's kind of nuts. Like, that's a lot of time utilized for something that is a maybe. Well, assuming it's a maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because, like, obviously he's had so much experience with AD carries. I still think AD carry is very playable. It's just also, like, I just don't think it's as good as it used to be. And I think we've had so long. Like,
Mm.
the thing is, right, originally back in the day, AD carries were needed to kill towers, right?
Yeah.
That's not been a thing for a while, because mages often kill towers faster than AD carries even.
Mm-hmm.
But AD carries has just been so strong, right? And AD mids have been kind of shit, which is why we've still had AD carries all this time. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that AD carry hasn't been the strongest role for fucking ages. Like, I mean, it depends on your different definition of the strongest role. But like in pro play, it's the reason why like teams will just set up the AD carry to win.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like we're finally seeing a situation where AD carry just isn't obnoxiously broken, where
Mm.
AD carry isn't like the most broken role in the game,
Which is nice.
and we get to see some of the stuff.
I mean, that's fucking nice because honestly, like, for a while now, it's just been so bot centric because of the dragon changes initially, because of how
Yeah,
important it was to win the 2v2.
but I mean, it's been so bot centric and just AD carry because like the way the meta is like team fights are everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're fighting over like Elder or Soul, you want to fed AD carry,
Yeah.
right? Well, you did. I just don't know if they're as strong, but I still think there are some AD carries who are strong. I just think it's not like a general rule that like every AD carry is cracked. But like
Yeah.
I think Ezreal's pretty good right now. We have a lot of good Ezreal players at Worlds. I
Mm-hmm.
think Zaya is still pretty good in the right matchups. You know, she's very good into anti-dive, very self-sufficient, and like she just cuts through everything like butter. I also think like she's a good Navori user, and
Yep.
Navori's actually good where like IE isn't.
Yep.
I think Siva's pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how high I'd put her, but I've seen a lot of builds like with like Black Cleave and stuff. But then Shiv got nerfed again. The thing is, like, she never really needed Shiv.
Yeah, she
Siva
didn't.
never really needed Shiv, but like her Black Cleaver, like I've seen like Black Cleaver, like Shiv Black Cleaver Duskblade
Oh yeah.
is like a variation of a build, and you just shred everything, and you're so bulky, and you just do so much damage, and your Q just hits like a truck, and you're just so hard to deal with because like Civ is already hard to deal with because she's so mobile and she has a spell shield. But
Mm.
if you're also bulky, it's just obnoxious. Um, yeah, I think Senna's pretty good. Like fasting Senna, especially with good pairings. I don't know where I'd like tier all these individually. I haven't really thought too much about it, but I think these are all interesting ones. I also think like Neela's kind of similar to Swain in that she's like, I mean, she's more similar to Jax, honestly. Like I think Neela has these games where she's just like fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's actually unplayable for the enemy. Actually, no, I'd say that's kind of similar in some ways to Swain. You know those games where like you're into like Nocturne Renekton
Oh yeah.
and you don't want to be playing an AD carry.
True.
Neela just mangles them. Like it's similar to Jax. Like the auto dodging thing
Yeah,
is just so insane.
it is.
Like it just means that these champions who are auto reliant just have nothing they can really do in response.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I've just talked like a
No,
million
that's
miles.
fucking. You just give me free just give me free content. Don't worry.